Hey, welcome back to the channel. I'm not kidding, this might be the most valuable video that I've ever made, ever. I've been wanting to make this video for a long time, and it's all about how to land a design job. And I found the perfect person and the perfect opportunity to run through some content that's gonna help you find your first design job or find the great design job that you've been hoping for your whole life. This is the video for you. It's gonna show you how to get noticed, how to get an employer to click your website, how to interview, how to get your resume and your cover letter polished up in a way that's gonna make you stand out. This is the video for you. I wanna go so far as to guarantee that if you do the things in this video, you're gonna land the design job of your dreams. Now, going back in time, my first creative director job was in 1998. I was creative director at a children's toy and book company in Phoenix, Arizona. Then I was a creative director at Fox Studios in LA. Then I started freelancing and hiring and building up my agency, which I built over 13 years, and then I sold my agency in 2015. Over that run of my career, I managed and hired 168 creative professionals. And I did a little calculation. If there were 5 interviews per job opening of the people I hired, that would make 840 interviews. And if I looked at 30 different portfolios and resumes for those 168 jobs, 30 per job, it would be 5,040 portfolios reviewed, portfolio resumes reviewed. So I've been down this path, and the things that I'm gonna teach you in this video are gonna change the game for you. They're gonna help you get noticed and help you find the job that you're looking for. Okay, so now I'm gonna jump over and we're gonna talk with Becky Bailey, my friend, and we're gonna go through her stuff, and it's gonna be valuable. Stick with me. So one of the things when we're applying for jobs that we have to remember is that all you're really doing is selling yourself into somebody else. That's what you're doing. You're selling your capabilities to somebody who has a problem. And if you distill down the job hunting, especially in the creative services world, if you distill it down to a problem and a solution, what do you think the problems are that people are hiring for? And it's consistent. What do you think?
Someone to create good work for them, or help them take off the load.
Okay, that's one of the big ones. And then the other one is that sometimes they need a specific skill set, a specific expertise. So there's really those 2 reasons that somebody has a job opening. They list a job because either they're too busy internally to be able to get all the work done that they have, or they need somebody who can do animation like you can, or character design like you can. You have those capabilities. And so applying to places that have that job opening, you need to position yourself to 1 or 2 of these problems. Your whole mission is to show how you can help them get all the work done that they have, because they wouldn't be hiring if they didn't have too much work, or they wouldn't be hiring if they didn't have some void in their expertise inside with their current team. If they had both of those things filled, they wouldn't have a job listing.
Yeah,
They just wouldn't. Okay, so everything kind of hinges on these 2 big tent poles right here. So those are the most common problems. It's not always the only problems, but most common. Like every time I hired people, it was because of one of these 2 things. Now, in this marketing, so sales and marketing go hand in hand. And so now you're positioning yourself in this sales mindset. We're gonna be selling ourselves into this opportunity. We have certain marketing materials that we can use to attract interest, just like we think about in brand design, packaging design or advertising design, all those things. It's all about marketing materials to generate interest, and then converting the interest into a buyer. And you can look at it the same way when you're doing job hunting. Now you have these things that are your marketing materials. You have a cover letter, or an introduction email. Also in 2023, where we are right now, sometimes a cover letter can just be an email and then your resume is attached to that. Sometimes it can be part of a PDF, which we'll show you in a minute. And then you have your resume, and then you have a website, and then you have a social media platform, and then you have the interview. These are the 5 things that you have to market yourself into an opportunity. And we're going to go over 4 of them. I'm not going to dig into social media because it's a whole humongous can of worms that we can't fit into what I want this content to be focused on. But the other ones we're going to dig into pretty deeply. Okay, so jumping in, we're going to start with website. But before we start with the website piece, do you have any initial questions about just this introduction, sales and marketing of yourself kind of concept?
No, not at the minute. I do have quite a few questions for the end that might include some of that. So I'll let you get on with it.
Good. All right. Yeah. And I have questions for our mock interview, which you're going to love also.
No.
I'm sure. Okay. So let's talk about your website. Now, the goal with each of these 5 marketing materials, we have a goal that we should keep in mind. This is the mission of that marketing material. And we're going to start with the website. And the goal on the website is to land an interview. That is the entire mission for you. If you're job hunting, your mission, you build a site, your mission is to get an interview from the potential employer. Now, when we look at your current website, I'm going to jump over to that on my screen right here. We look at your current website, and there's some things you're doing well and some things that I recommend for changes. Number one, this is good. Put your face out there. They are hiring a human, and you want to humanize yourself. What's the difference between you and the other 500 character designer, animator, illustrator people that are competing for the same job that you have? What's the big difference?
There's only one me, I suppose.
There's only one you.
Know?
Yeah, it's exactly it. There's only one you. Mm-hmm. And so you have to try and build this kind of relationship with your potential employer before you even get a chance to actually even sit down with them. You've got to say, okay, how do I start building this relationship? So the importance of putting your face out there is so important. I had people that would apply and they wouldn't have their photo anywhere on their website. And what did I do? I start looking around. I dig into social media. I do a search for them on LinkedIn and stuff because I want to see a human face behind the design work. The design work intrigues me enough for me to say, okay, all right, that looks pretty decent. And then I want to see, but who's going to be sitting next to me in the office? Who am I going to be on calls with every day? Do they look like they might fit with my culture? Do they look like they're a nice person? Do they look like they have some integrity or hardworking? Do they look like that? And that's what I'm looking for. And so that's why we got to get our photo out there. So kudos to you, front and center, nice and big on here. That's great. The other thing that I think you do well here is that you did do a minimalistic approach. You're not going overboard on your personal brand style. There's not like neon pink colors and giant punchy logos and things that scream so loud. And that's a positive thing. But we're going to take it a little step further when I show you some of the things that I worked on. Okay, the next thing that you do well is this little positioning statement right here. You got to have some kind of a statement that says, I am this and I solve this. This is who I am and this is what I solve. So that positioning statement is an important thing. This let's work together, little call to action. That's the mission. If you remember on that slide, what's the goal? Land an interview. Let's work together is a call to action that's in harmony with that mission of this website. And then we scroll down here and we have your work, which your work is good. Like this looks nice. It's good work. So you have good work inside of an okay website, which we're going to make some improvements on here in a second. But your work is great and your animations are great and you show diversity and skill set. So when you're thinking about these 2 big problems that the potential client has, they have too much work and they need certain expertise. Well, you can help with both. You can help with a wide variety of types of projects, and you bring some certain expertise that they may not have on staff, like character design, illustration. At my agency, I only had like 2 people on staff that could illustrate. And then we had like 5 or 6 other designers. So those 2 people who could do illustration were really valuable because they had this special expertise that I needed in my agency. It made them a little more indispensable inside the business. Okay, so you're doing a lot of those things are great. A couple of the things that I would recommend for changes. Number 1, get to the work faster. We're right here. We've got your face up here and a big Rebecca Bailey. And now we're going to go down and we have to scroll like 2 rows of stuff before we get to the work. That's problematic because the people are only giving you a few seconds. They get your resume. If you get them to click on the link, they're giving you a few seconds and they're judging this fast. They're like, okay, I'm going to click on the link. She sounded nice in her cover letter. Okay, that's okay. And then they scroll to here and they're like, I don't know. And then they go boom and they click on the image because that's the big thing, and the image doesn't click. The image doesn't click. We have to go down here to the button, and then I click the button and I get into a gallery of not just that project, but a whole bunch of other projects as well. So this is a wide variety. So there's some challenges with that I'll show you that we'll fix. Another thing that I recommend is your typography. Stay away from anything non-standard. And this, we've got these little flourishes on here and stuff. And if you look at like the way illustration word is written here, the T on this is so odd. It has that little serif thing on the top that makes it look like another dot. And so it looks like 2 eyes next to each other. And the same thing with animation.
Yeah,
it looks like 2 eyes.
To kind of read.
Yeah, it's a weird little font. And in approaching this from a design perspective, you want this to be simple enough of a design that you can fit within anybody else's company. You got to look like this doppelganger that you apply and they look at your stuff and they think, oh yeah, she could fit. Yeah, her style could fit. Now, if you're too stylized, you're not going to fit. And let me show you a couple of things relating to this. All right. We're going to go to back to this. All right. So I went to Awards website, awwwards.com, and I looked up a bunch of the agency websites that had won a bunch of these awards. And what I did here on the screen is I put your website next to the agency websites of the potential places that you might be applying for in your future. So we have this one, Centempo, and we look at yours, and is there a match? Not so much, but you might apply here for Web and Crafts. Is there a match? Not so much. You've got this kind of fanciful font and things, and they're a little bit more corporate looking.
Yeah.
We've got this one, Monwest in Netherlands. Now your colors match okay here, but there's a difference in vibe. This one, some big difference in this Buttermax company, huge, an agency in New York. Big Spaceship, an agency also in New York. This one's dops.digital. I don't know this agency, but I just pulled their stuff. Trying to just look at and say, okay, does your site look like theirs enough that when they look at you and they click on your website, they're thinking, yeah, okay, she could fit. Her style can fit with what our style is. And then you go here to, this is Crispin Porter Boguski site. Can it fit? I don't know. But then what if you apply it smart sites? Can it fit? Not so much on this one. Growth curve, and this is the last one on this list. So start your growth engine. Can it fit? Not so much. So what we're going to do is, these are my recommendations to your site, or anybody who's watching this video, to your portfolio website. You want to keep your site design style minimalistic. Less is more. Don't try too hard. Pick from the Google fonts. If you're using Google fonts, and I pulled that up here. If you're using Google fonts, here's the screen of the most popular serif Google fonts, and we can see the most popular sans serif Google fonts. My kind of general rule of thumb for you is, feel free to use anything that's on the first page of the most popular Google fonts. Now, still use your design intuition, because as you scroll down lower on these, you might find some that aren't as good as some of the others. But as I skim down on this, most of these are pretty acceptable choices for your thing. Now, here we go, this Ultra. This I would not recommend. It's too designed, too punchy, too stylized. We want to avoid that. We've got Roboto Serif. This could be a nice option. I tend to stick to the main famous fonts of the world. I use Helvetica in my branding. During my agency years, we used Gotham for a while. We used Din for a while. Those are kind of these standard fonts. Garamond and Palatino and these Galliard and stuff. Some of these classic standard fonts. And then when we go into the Google font world, you get things like Roboto and Merriweather and Open Sans and Montserrat and stuff. Some of these ones, Poppins, this is a nice sans serif font. So stay away from anything that's overly stylized. Now, I'll show you in my redesign of your portfolio site that I used Garamond. I used one of the Garamond versions that is a free font on Google Fonts. And so I downloaded it. And because it's a Google font, in whatever platform you're building in, you usually can just select it from the font menu in there. So I use this Cormorant Garamond as the font that we're going to look at here in a second. Yeah, it's nice. It's clean. It's still, I chose a serif because your style still had some whimsicalness to it. Your style was more serif-y than it was sans serif. So I didn't want to stray away from the essence of who you are in your normal design intuition. Yeah. Okay. Now, case studies, not portfolio gallery. That's the next little tip. Case studies, not portfolio gallery. You're selling on your site, you have graphic design, illustration, animation as your key buckets. I recommend having a client project be the key bucket, and then you show the case study about that specific client. Here's what I did for Crayola. And that's the case study that I mocked up for you. This is what I did for Crayola. And here's how it looks. And here was the problem we solved. And then you have other case studies based on other brands in your thing. So we'll show you that here. Show your face. We talked about that already. Call to action. What's the mission? Land an interview. So that we want to be the focus. Something memorable and something that differentiates. Those are both important elements. Now, in your cover letter, you talked about loving cartoons and Scooby-Doo and things, which Scooby-Doo is one of the greatest things ever created in the world.
So true.
It's so true. It's so true.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, so even as an adult, I still reminisce fondly on my Scooby-Doo days of my life because it was just so perfect. So that, to me, of the things that you presented in your cover letter, was something that resonated with me because I have that same affinity for Scooby-Doo that you do. So now, boom, there's something memorable and something that probably differentiates you a little bit from other people. You were being authentic in sharing something more about who you are in your soul than just, I'm really good at Photoshop. We're getting a little deeper there. Okay, so these are the recommendations for the website. And now I'm going to take you through the site pages that I designed for your presentation here. Okay. Do you have any questions before I show you some of these?
No, I'm happy. It all sounds good. I mean, the tips on the fonts like are great because I think I sometimes overthink it. Yeah. And I'm like, no, my font defines who I am, so it has to be really different and abstract. But I think you're so right in what you said about, you know, choosing like a good font and it's not too over the top.
It's risky because if you use a crazy font poorly, it can make you look junior in your design sense. And you see it in first-year design students, and they put it's like they open up the freaking dafont.com, and there are 80,000 different fonts, and then they're like, oh, I'm going to go pick one on page 78. It's so risky because it's a junior, it's like a junior-minded design approach because they feel like, whoa, I got all these choices. I'm going to go pick something nobody else has ever done, and that'll make me look creative. When in reality, restraint is what makes you look more professional, more creative. Restraint, that design inside the rules, that is what makes great design most of the time. And you look at the Swiss design movement of minimalistic Helvetica, Massimo style of design, which is my favorite of all the design eras. I love it so much, but it's so built on rules. It's so built on grids and Helvetica and nothing too flaring and nothing too punchy, but it looks so designed and polished.
Even like to this day, it still just looks great.
It does, and I use it. I mean, it's a major influence on my personal design style, just because I'm so in love with it, and I've never not been in love with it for the last 30 years that I've been trying to navigate this design world. The Swiss design movement, which is filled with rules, is my favorite of all. So, but it forces you to restrain yourself from going crazy. Now, there's a flip side to that, and we could talk about David Carson and the end of print and crash type in the 90s and things of just breaking all the rules. And turning design
really cool.
Some of it's really, really cool. I know I was massively inspired by that too early in my career. It's fun to make, but that stuff skews as art, not so much communication design. It communicates emotion, but it's not the kind of design that you're going to stick on a billboard when you get 3 seconds to capture somebody's attention and get them to a call to action of some kind. Crash type isn't the way that you're going to do it. Now, are you going to win awards and you're going to have books and you're going to have a worldwide speaking gigs as a result of it? No doubt. And I love it. I love it. David Carson was one of the most inspiring designers that I ever have had in the history of my life.
Cool.
But it isn't the right approach for most designers trying to assimilate themselves into a company where they want to work. Now, if you're trying to get a job with David Carson, then you want your site to look like a David Carson website. But most people and most agencies don't have a David Carson style crash type website.
Okay. That's true.
All right, so let's go over here to this. This is the revised site. And what I did on this is I adhered to the recommendations. I kept a minimalistic design style. I changed your font from the more swirly style that you had and used just a Garamond font. So we still have serifs and it still has some flair. I used a little bit of a color palette, but it's subtle. I pulled this from kind of the vibe that you had in a lot of your work and in the photos that you sent me, where we have these browns and kind of autumn colors, which seem to be something consistent. And then you had that pine cone that was part of your logo. And I was like, okay, we want to keep something of her flavor. We don't want to just abandon who she is and make a Massimo Vanelli website for her. We gotta restrain some of the desire to go super like that and keep some of the personality. So that's what I tried to do here. I put this call to action nice and big at the top. It is the first thing we want them to do. Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm a creative designer capable of managing heavy workloads. Okay. Problem number one. And a wide range of project types. Problem number two, some sort of expertise that they need to hire for. Those are the two big problems, and that's what we're focusing on in our little messaging statement. Now, this isn't the end all be all of initial statements. Feel free to personalize it and tweak it and stuff, but just know that you're trying to communicate the fact that you can solve one of the two problems that most people who are listing a job have.
Yeah.
Okay. The next thing on this is that we're getting the work higher up on the page. So now we have two projects that are above any fold. Even if I'm like on an iPad, the fold would probably be right about here, and we would see your eyes and just above your nose, maybe a little bit below that. So we see you still above the fold, but we also see two projects, and the projects look great. These are your exact images. I didn't change anything here. You have this, but it's buried down inside of a couple of links, and we brought it to the forefront and made it look like, okay, this is a clickable thing that I want to see. I'm interested in Daisy's Diner project here. Okay, and then under the projects, I put the work categories like what you had before. It's graphic design, it's advertising design, it's character design, character art, illustration. I put those below the project title or the client title. So now we can look at this and say Daisy's Diner, we did branding, packaging, social media, and advertising. And if I'm looking for a designer, I look at that and say, okay, looks nice. She looks nice and friendly. This looks like it could match my brand, which I'll show you in a second how it matches up with all of the other initial projects that we looked at or agency sites we looked at. And then I can see this, I can see, okay, we got a lot of good projects down here that have some diversity in style. And then you got a little blurb that shares about you. I'd love to work with you. We're dripping in a little call to action there. And then we get to the end and it's let's work together. We're going back to that call to action. If you scroll down to here, let's work together. And I put down here the bullet list of different services that you offer, just to try and target some of those keywords. Now, and then a little form, the form that they can fill out. You had one on your site right now, I believe. And so I just stuck that back in here to say, okay, we don't need to abandon all of the things you had in place. We just need to tweak their positioning a little bit and their purpose. Now, most people in this situation, if they scroll down to here, we also have a footer that has your email in it and just a little let's connect call to action. Most of the people who hit this site, if I'm looking for a job or for a candidate, I'm going to see your cover letter. I'm going to give it like a 5-second skim, and I'm going to look for a link. And that link is going to drive me to the site. And then if I'm going to click it, and then I'm going to start judging you right then. As soon as I hit here, I'm going to start judging you. And I'm going to judge you like this. I'm going to look at it and say, okay, Rebecca Bailey. Oh, this looks nice and clean. That's pretty good. Oh, she looks like a nice person. Hey, this work's not bad. And then boom, I'm going to click on one of these. That's what I'm going to do. I usually am not even going to scroll, not even going to scroll down. So you want to make sure that these top few things hit all those buttons that are the priorities. Now put your top best 2 projects up on top and we want them to hit that. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so this is the home page, and then let me go over here and see if this, okay, so here's what a case study page would look like in this new approach. Crayola is the case study. This is, you did work with Crayola, the Create to Learn project. Shout this out. It's a big brand. Highlight it. People know this brand everywhere. Everybody was a kid and knows Crayola. You shout this out. And then below Crayola Create to Learn, we put the bullets of what you did here: illustration, character design, postcard design, and animation, and then a little paragraph that kind of summarizes the project. Then we go into the work, and to just out of simplicity, because I know you're not like a hardcore web designer or anything. So I try to keep this just simple grids. This can just be a 2-row grid right here. On the left row, we have an overview of the project. You have a little description of your approach to the project. And then you have a little paragraph about the impact or results. What was the outcome of this thing? Now, in the world we live in, if you don't know what to write for that stuff, go to ChatGPT and just say, hey, I have a project that I did for Crayola. I did some character design and some illustration and some animation or whatever it might be, postcard design. These are the services I did. Now I need to write a case study about this. Can you give me an overview, approach, and impact? Just a couple sentences for each of those things. And then boom, ChatGPT is going to spit back to you some decent stuff to start with. And you go in and you edit it and you say, okay, I'm going to make this sound more like me. And no, I didn't do that. It made that up. So I'm going to take that piece out. But it did spark an idea for me to tell people about this. So that's what you're going to do. I mean, we're in the world of AI, and I don't recommend using AI to replace all of your copy, but I do recommend AI to feed you with the starters that you need for this kind of content.
Yeah, to inspire, because I do struggle with things like that, as I'm sure a lot of people do.
I do too. Like writing freaking case study text on my portfolio sites, my agency sites. Man, it's tough. You're like, well, what did we even do on this thing? So you just start digging in, trying to write content. We had, after I sold my agency in 2015, the agency I sold to, we did a big rebrand of the combined agency, and we had a couple copywriters on staff, and they spent like a month just writing the case studies for all the projects on our website, on our portfolio site. Okay, so that's what we're going to do on these case study pages. Now, if we scroll down here, this is your shot, but I had you send me one of your sketches, which I just stuck into a mock-up. So now we're showing a little bit of the process. Yeah, we want to show the process, not just the end results. Show some of the process. And I liked this little sketch. It shows that you're doing this conceptual part of it, and then we have some more work for it down here. And then we go back down to the bottom and we remember, what is the purpose of this entire website? Let's work together. Contact me. And we're putting you back down on the bottom saying, hey, remember, I look nice. I'm a nice person. You want to work with me. That's what we say. That's what we say here. So client goes to the homepage. They do a quick scan. She seems nice. Let me look at some work. Boom, they hit that page and they go to a case study. They scroll down. They don't read any of this. They're not reading this copy. I promise you they're not reading this copy. They're looking at it from a design standpoint and saying, all right, that looks nice. Like the design's nice. 2-column grid. That looks good. This color's pretty nice, muted, doesn't distract me from the work. Scroll down. Oh, it looks pretty good. It's interesting. Okay. Oh yeah, she was nice. She looked nice. Boom, contact me. And then they reach out for an interview. That's what happens. And it happens even faster than what I just went through it right there.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So let's go back to this presentation here and look at how this new site fits with all of these sites that I put your old website style up next to. And we look at this. Okay, are we a fit here? Well, it doesn't look like a misfit. It looks like, okay, these people send tempo and they look at this, they could see, okay, I could see her working here. Does it alienate you from this? It's not as close of a fit, but I think it's a better fit than it was. We look at it and think, okay, good. We've got a grid. They've got a grid of thumbnails here. You've got a grid of thumbnails. There are enough things that kind of associate back to it. This one is a slam dunk. Like you apply to this agency, Mon West in the Netherlands, and they're like, wow, man, she has the same colors, same open feeling to it. Like there's some white space, some airiness to it. Yeah, this feels like a fit for us. Buttermax, it's not a misfit. It's not as close as the last one, but it's not a misfit. Go to this one, huge. It's not a misfit, but it's not as close as the two ago. This one, big spaceship. It's a total slam dunk fit.
Yeah.
Like they should see this and they'll be like, man, it's like she already works here. It feels like our site. This one, not as close a fit, but you've got enough white in the body area that it doesn't feel like a misfit. This one, CPB, also not a misfit. And then this one, you know, this site design on yours is better than theirs on here. So I was just trying to be realistic that not everybody has a cool agency site. So when they look at your thing, at your site from here, they're going to see aesthetically you have a stronger image than theirs, and they'll look at it and say, okay, well, we need a designer who has a stronger design sense than our own people or whoever designed our website in the first place. Same kind of thing here. This one's okay. You know, feels the way that you feel a lot of these app websites and stuff that people are doing, but it's not a misfit. Anyway, so I think we align ourselves better to what people are expecting to see with a portfolio site and case study like we have here. Okay, do you have any questions or comments about all of that? I know I went a little long-winded on that explanation.
No, like it looks great, and like everything you said, it just clicks, and like, yes, that makes so much sense. And like I love how you have like the work together at the end. I think it just flows so well, and it does spring back to, oh yeah, that's what we're here for. I love it.
That's what we're here for.
It's great.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. I love it. And that's why it took us a month to finally get this call up, because I didn't want it to be just, you know, me critiquing and not showing what the result of the critique is. And so at one point I thought about telling you what you critiquing it for you, and then having you design it and bring it back. But then we would be in critique land again. So I thought, I'll just redesign it and show what my recommendations are as well as tell them.
Well, thank you, because like I work visually, so I mean, seeing it, just I understand completely. So thank you so much.
Okay, good. All right, now cover letter. I'm super excited about this one too, and nobody ever did this for me ever. But if you want them to click, this is how you're going to do it. And everybody watching this video, do it this way for the rest of your entire job hunting life. Okay, so we're going to go to the cover letter. What is the objective of the cover letter? It's to click the website. That's what we want them to do. We want them to click. We're not trying to land the job in the cover letter. We're not trying to get them to see our resume. We just want them to click, because you know, if you can get them to your website and you have your nice looking work and you got your pretty face on there and they're looking at it and saying, okay, yeah, I could work with her and her work's pretty good. That's what we want them to do. So we want that click. Now, your current cover letter, let's go over to that and open up. And admittedly, you have, I don't know that this is the one you sent, but I'm going to pretend that it is, because you sent me a PDF that had a few different things in it. But if this was the one you sent, or if it wasn't, let's just say that it was. And I'm not even going to ask if it was or wasn't, but I'm going to give you a critique based on this this cover letter. The first thing we have here is a heavy block of copy, where we don't have pacing breaks in here. So make sure that you're breaking your copy up into bite-sized skimmable pieces.
Okay.
Your name is not visible on top. And I may not even get down here to Rebecca B. I may not even get there. All I see is R. And then I think, who is this? Wait, okay, Dear Blink Industries. Oh, okay, my name is Rebecca. But you can't guarantee that they're going to read that, because what are they? What's the goal? What are they here to do? Click. That's what we want. We want them to click. And that's the entire mission of this cover letter. The text is all good, but you're applying for jobs from people who, your managers and bosses and agency people, they're visual. The people that you, as a design-centric artist, you're applying to, they're visual. They just want to see it. So we want to get it to them. And right now, we don't have a click anywhere in here, but that's the entire mission of the cover letter on here. Now, I'm not going to go through and read the text in here. I didn't change any of the text on the version that I did. It's good. You talk about your past, you show some authenticity, you talk about the things you love. We mentioned Scooby-Doo already, some of these Gravity Falls and Bee and Puppy Cat. You're showing some authenticity of who you really are. So that's great. You're showing the role of character artist, so you're calling it out. But a lot of that stuff is buried down inside of a big block of copy that they're not going to read. Okay, so let's go over to the revised cover letter, which I'll open up right here. Okay, revised cover letter. Now, up on top, Rebecca Bailey, and then I put your sub bullets, illustration, graphic design, animation. And I kept your pine cone on there because I didn't want to stray from who you are. So we have that. And then what's the mission of this entire thing? It's to get them to click. And the way you're going to get them to click is by creating a custom page that is just for this job application. Blink Industries. Now, if you send them this, https RebeccaCreativeGraphics.com, there's nothing custom about that. But when they see /Blink Industries on the end, they're going to think, whoa, something just for me at Blink Industries? Oh, something just for me at Big Spaceship? Something just for me at, Amazon or wherever you're applying for this design job? That is going to do a better job of soliciting the click. We want that click. Now, we're going right for the jugular here on this. I say, in response for your job listing for a character designer, Dear Blink Industries, I want to be your next character designer. I created a page on my site to show you how great a fit I will be for your agency. Boom, they click it. Now, do they ever get back to this stuff? Yes, after they vet you on your website. I clicked it. Man, all I did, the cover letter would come in and I would skim and find the link and click it and I'm gone. I don't read it until after I'm more interested. And I believe that's the case with most other people. So what does this click look like? If we go to this Blink Industries page, well, because I'm Mike Janda, I designed it. And I put it right here. Hello, Blink Industries. I want to be your next character designer. Wow, boom. Now we're custom to this thing. You put some effort into this beyond just spam bombing all the applications you could out there. You put some effort into customizing this for them. I'm Rebecca. I'm a creative designer and character artist capable of managing heavy workloads in a wide range of project types. You're not driving them to your homepage. You're driving them to this page from that link. What's the mission of this? We want to land an interview. So we're going to make that our call to action. Let's schedule an interview. Now, as you scroll down, these projects get customized for this specific client. You have a case study for 10 different projects you've done in your past, and you put the top ones in here. Maybe it's 3, maybe it's 4, maybe it's 6, but only put the ones that adhere closely to this project opportunity, because you want them to hit this page and see, okay, it's customized for me. Click. Does this match what we're looking for? So in this situation, if you want to be a character designer, we want to have all of these first few links be character design related projects that show that you can fill the needs that they have. And then down here on the left, I will be a perfect fit for Blink Industries. We're customizing that again just to push them and say, look, you're not just spam to me. I really want to work with you at Blink Industries. And then down here, this is the same as what's on the cover letter. Because we know that, number one, we need some text from a design standpoint just so that we keep things like designy looking. Now, as a designer, half the time I'm putting text on something, it's just because I want it to look nice, and I need text as part of my design elements. But as a visual designer, the amount of times that I actually read the text is so small compared to me just being a visual learner. We just like to look. We like to look at it. But we're going to put the text here, and we're going to put in this, we're going to regurgitate back to them the things that you check the boxes on in their job application or in their job listing. And you say it right here, I check every box in your job listing. And then you bullet point animation and motion graphics, expert in After Effects, expert in Adobe Illustrator, proficient in Photoshop, proficient in Premiere, character design, illustration, organized and friendly, great communication skills. You're just highlighting back to them. You're telling them what they asked you for. We're looking for this. And so you're spitting it back to them in some bullets that they can skim. All right, and then we go back down to here. Let's work together, a different photo of you, schedule an interview. That's where driving that call to action back home again. Yeah. Okay, so we customize this for every single application that you really want. I'm not saying that some of them that you apply for, you can just send them to the homepage. But if it's something like this that was such a perfect fit for what you want to do, and you check the boxes, then go that little extra mile and create the little custom page. Once you build one of these pages, it's easy just to duplicate it and change out the names, change out this little text list, and change the case studies that you promote. You're just tweaking it and then sending it to Amazon or Big Spaceship or wherever. Okay, questions about the cover letter and the custom link approach?
I mean, everything just looks perfect and sounds perfect. I'm more just like thinking like, I'm so excited now to start applying.
Good. I'm so excited for you.
It just sounds so good. It sounds so good. So thank you.
I'm excited. This is the one, this custom page that I never saw anybody do ever. And I haven't applied for a job for so freaking long that I don't know what that's even like anymore, other than being on the receiving side. But I do know that when we were doing work for Google at my agency, we never sent Google to our homepage. Whenever we were meeting with a new marketing manager at Google, we sent them to the riseragency.com/Google page. And the entire page was dedicated to showing how we can do work for them at Google and all the other projects we had done for Google. So in their perception, we looked like a perfect fit for Google because all we were showing them was the stuff that was a fit for them. So that same kind of custom landing page concept that you can do in agency marketing, you should be doing in job marketing, because that's what this is. You're marketing yourself for this job opportunity. Okay.
Definitely.
All right, let's go on to now. I'll just run through this cover letter recommendations just so we have this on there. And I already mentioned all of them, but break the text up for pacing. Be direct in your purpose. I want to be your next character designer. Direct. Custom link to a custom page. Show how you check all their boxes. You asked for this in your job listing. I can do all of them. Check, 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 check. Create something memorable and something to humanize yourself. Now, something memorable you had in your cover letter, you had the Scooby-Doo thing. It was the memorable thing to me. It's what resonated, and it came because you put some authentic, from your soul content in there. So do that. The next thing is humanize yourself. We've got 3 pictures of you, or 2 pictures of you on each of these pages. So you're humanizing yourself. They're looking at you saying, yeah, she looks like she could fit in our team. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm gonna call her. I want to interview her. So that's the humanizing side of it. All right, let's go on to the resume section. Resume. The goal with the resume also to land an interview. Now here's the process. You drop into their inbox and they skim to find the link. They click the link to go to the site, and we're trying to drive them to schedule an interview there. But and sometimes this happens, they'll do a little more due diligence. They're not completely sold after your website, and that's when they'll open the resume. They don't, I opened way more portfolio sites than I ever did PDF resumes, because oftentimes I would see their cover letter, I would see their site, and that was enough. I'd schedule the interview. Or I would omit them from consideration. I would look at it and say, it's not even worth my time to read that resume. I don't really even care. But sometimes you need the resume as that final little thing to put them over the edge. So here's the process that happens when they do read the resume. Your cover letter hits, I want to be your next character designer, boom, click, goes to the custom page, This looks good. She looks like a nice person. Her work is good. I'm going to see what's her deal. What's her background? And then I go back to the email and I click the resume to start to skim that and see where you've worked in the past, what you're doing right now, what your skill set is, where you got some education, all that kind of stuff I look for if I'm doing that little bit deeper dive due diligence. Right, so let's look at your current resume. Going back to here. So here, nothing dramatic in my feedback on here. In fact, I didn't change very much other than the design styling of it for this new styling that we have. But I kept your pine cone like you had. You have your name up here is great. You have your little bucket of illustration, graphic design, animation. Work background, it all just kind of reads. It's easy and nice. No dramatic things. I probably wouldn't put the illustrations in, and I didn't on mine. We want to we want to show restraint. Show some restraint. Yeah, you can illustrate all those things. But what if the person looks at that and says, I liked her website, I liked those case studies, and then they hit this, and then they second guess because the last design thing that they're seeing is these sketches that are on the bottom, which aren't nearly as impactful as the Crayola case study that they just got sold on. So you sell them on the great thing, and then you leave them with the lackluster thing as the last taste in their mouth. We want dessert last. That's what we want. We don't want to have our meal and then eat something yucky. We want to eat something delicious as dessert. And this is the dessert because it's the last thing in their chain of whether they're going to offer you an interview or not. So I would pull those things out. Less is more on resume design. Less is more on this. All right, so let's go to the redesigned version of the resume, and you'll see, again, like the cover letter, just a little more simplistic. I kept your pine cone because we want to keep some personality, but now we're in Garamond land, which is a little classier font choice. Just using spacing and typography sizes to create visual hierarchy. So about me is bigger, skill set, bigger, experience, bigger. We're not using flood black boxes or those brown boxes and having reverse text in them. We're just showing restraint, design restraint, trying to control ourselves to not go too crazy in how we design the thing. And then what is the goal of this? Let's work together. Let's schedule an interview. This is the thing. And so we want to make that easy on here. We've got your email down here, and I kept your URL down in this space as well. But that's the mission of this. So again, some subtle changes. You're not far off. Like what you had isn't far off. It just, in some ways, went just like 10 degrees too far. Out of 100 degrees, it was just a tiny bit too far in its effort. And the classiness comes when you restrain that and show that, okay, I can create some polished design without flood boxes and, swirly fonts and things. Yeah. Okay, questions or comments about the resume piece?
No, just again, 100% agree, because when you say the dessert thing, it makes sense because I don't want them to be left with that current resume I had, because it does have a different feel and it maybe isn't as polished as the website. So having it so clean like that, the way you have it, I feel it still has a good effect, but it doesn't take away from the website and leave that lasting impression of, oh, wait, so it looks great. No, it looks so good.
Good. Okay. So let's go to just these final little resume recommendations. So we have this as part of this instructional piece for people. The goal is landing an interview, minimal design, but be sophisticated in the details. So same as I've been preaching this entire thing, make it skimmable. And you do that with font hierarchy, type hierarchy, bigger type, smaller type, italicized type, to make it so that people can just kind of skim through. And then make sure that your call to action is on there. Let's work together. That's what we want. We want that interview opportunity. Okay, so now speaking of interview opportunity, and I don't have any more slides to show, so I'm gonna unshare my screen here, and then we're gonna do, because I know you're excited about it, we're gonna do a little mock interview as if you were applying to my agency for, let's call it an illustration, a designer and illustration job. Design and illustration job. Now, what are the two problems that I have? Okay, I looked at your stuff and you sold me. I'm sold on your design. You look like a nice person. I'm ready. Let's do a face-to-face interview. You're worth the 15 or 20 minutes that I'm going to give you to try and convince me that you're the right fit. What are my two big problems? Going back to the beginning.
You need an illustrator to design awesome illustrations.
Okay.
And you need someone to help with the workload.
That's right. That's it. Those are the two big ones. You're going to find that consistently almost everywhere. Mm-hmm. Now, it's okay to ask also. Okay. Ask in the interview. So what are your challenges? Like, why do you have this job listing posted? Why are you looking for somebody right now? And they may say, oh, well, we just had somebody quit, or we just greenlit a whole bunch of work, or we need somebody with illustration because we landed a project and we don't have anybody internally that has that skill set to offer. So if you don't know, it's okay to ask. And even if you do know, it's okay to assume that it's one of those two problems. I can almost guarantee it's almost always one of those two problems. Now, here's something that's important to remember. If you get to the interview, it's not any longer about whether you can design stuff or whether your work fits. They already passed all those tests. The interview is all about whether I can stand working with you all day long or not. That's what the interview is about. Is she going to be miserable, part of our team? And is she going to be miserable for me to manage? Is she going to be combative and argumentative? Is it what kind of employee is this person going to be? What kind of team member is this person going to be? That's what it's about. So your whole mission in going to this interview is to just know that, okay, well, I got the interview. That means they like my work enough. Now I'm just trying to sell them on liking me enough to be the person they choose. So let me give you a couple of pointers on this. I did remember now that I do have a slide. This will help you in your 4 seconds of preparing for the Mike Janda interview.
Oh, no.
Okay. Interview recommendations. And the goal here is to land the job. We're no longer trying to land the interview. We're no longer trying to get the click. We're going to try and land the job, a job offer. So here's what you do. You research in advance. And I know you know enough about me already to know that some of my background and stuff, so I didn't send this to you in advance. And by the way, for those of you watching, Becky doesn't know any of this stuff in advance. We're putting her on the spot for this. The interview is not so much about the work as it is about whether you fit their business or not. Smile and express gratitude. And by the way, you did that at the very, very start of our call today. Oh, I'm just so grateful to do this. And that's exactly what you did. So that's exactly what you do in the interview process. Authentic, be authentic. Like, it's okay to be nervous. It's okay to be nervous. And it's okay to say, oh, sorry, I really was excited when you called and I'm a little nervous, but I'm so excited to be here and talk with you. It's okay to express that because it brings humanity into you. You know, so if you feel it, then say it. If you don't feel it, don't make it up and invent it. But if you feel it, say it. Compliment their business. This before you launch in, just say, oh, I was on your website yesterday and I saw this and this, and I loved this thing. It was so interesting to me. I love this project you did or whatever. Be ready to respond to the salary question. This is the one.
That's a tough one.
It is a tough one. We're going to do that off the cuff. And I'll give you some pointers on that. Ask 3 to 5 questions that you've prepared in your research. So bring something to the table. And I always ask this at the end of interviews, and it's always kind of a red flag to me when I say, okay, do you have any questions for me? It was like my closing phase of every interview. And probably half the people would just say, no, That's it. Thank you. It was great. That half the people wouldn't ask me anything. I wanted them to ask me stuff. Ask me about the rest of the team. Ask me about how long people have stayed there. Ask me about what's the biggest challenge that I'm facing. Ask me something that shows that you have some genuine interest in me as a person and in my business as well. That, because I just spent 20 minutes asking you questions because I'm interested in you. Do the flip and make sure that you're showing them that you're interested in them as well.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the final one is take notes. Like write down, I never went into a business meeting ever without some kind of a little notebook. I would get the little Moleskine pocket size ones, and I would carry those in my pocket and a pen. And I never went into a meeting without them. And I always wrote stuff down, whether I needed to or not. Like sometimes it was, I could have remembered, but I write stuff down because it shows that you're genuinely interested. It shows that what they're saying to you is important to you. So you're going to write it down. Okay. Now for this video, you're off the hook. You don't have to write anything down, but we're going to pretend, everybody who's watching, we're going to pretend that Becky is writing down. She's taking furious notes as we do her interview for my illustration and designer job at my agency. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, and this is why intentionally I didn't ask you more about yourself at the beginning of the video because I knew I was going to do that here. So I do have genuine interest in you. For those of you watching, Becky and I have shared probably 20 email exchanges over the last few weeks, getting ready for meeting today and sending files and asking some questions here and there, but I've never sat and talked with her yet. So I actually am interested. And so none of that part is fake on here. So we're going to start as if you just walked into my agency and I come and greet you and I say, "Oh, Becky, so glad you're here. Thank you for coming in. I loved your website. Looked great. And it felt like a good match to what we need at my agency. Let's go sit down and let's talk about you and some of your skill set and things." Is that all right?
Great. Sounds good.
Okay. So tell me, I looked at your resume, and where are you located? Where are you located? You're in UK, right?
I'm located, yes, Scotland, UK.
Oh, in Scotland.
Yeah. Up at the top.
This is why the accent is so cool. Honestly, like Scotland, if I had an accent, if it was Scottish, Irish, British, or Australian, any of those 4 accents, I would be immediately like 50% better looking in perception of people in the world. I'm not kidding.
Okay. I'll take it as a compliment. I'll take that.
It is a compliment. It is a compliment. Because as soon as you open your mouth, then all of a sudden it's like, oh man, I want that accent. It's
like vice versa. It's like, like we all want to sound like American because it sounds cool, So to hear it the other way around is nice.
Is the other way. For most of the world, it's the other way around. Nobody's walking around saying, I want to have an accent, a U.S. accent from the deep South. Nobody's walking around saying that. Maybe some people want the kind of Southern twang, the charming Southern Texas twang kind of thing. But anyway. Okay, well, good. So Scotland, and how big is the city that you're living in?
It's not that big. It's Dundee, so it's quite small and not very design heavy at all. So, yeah, I do struggle in terms of that.
Yeah. Are you working remote right now, or are you working?
I do work remote. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I was currently from Belfast. And that's where I got the job. And then I moved over to Scotland, and I was fortunate enough to still work remotely. So
yeah. Good. Remote work has changed over the last couple of years, especially with COVID. It does not matter anymore. One of the people that I do business coaching with has 23 employees, and they're all remote. He started his agency last year and it just blew up right out of the gate. And he's doing so great, but he has employees all over the world. And he's headquartered in Atlanta, but everybody's remote. And it just doesn't matter anymore. They have big projects, big engagements, and it doesn't matter anymore. So, and it's not going to be a problem for our potential opportunity here.
Great.
Okay, so tell me about your skill set. Like, what do you love to do? I've seen your work already, so we're not going to dig into your work too much, but tell me about the things that are really passionate for you as a designer or creative.
Well, I do love illustrating for children's books, cartoons, anything. Like, it's just a very heavy passion of mine that I love to do. I also enjoy animating because I really feel like you can communicate strong messages to your audience through really nice animations. So I do graphic design as well.
Yeah.
So I do dabble in all three of those things.
Explain to me, what do you think is your strongest attribute? Because we have design need, and we also have clients that need illustration work. We do infographics and sometimes like animated infographics and things for clients. Those kinds of things come in somewhat regularly. So we have both of those needs, but talk to me about what your strongest skill set is.
Okay. It's a tough one because I am very strong at graphic design and typography and layout. I do love those aspects. But I do like to include things in illustration within my graphic design because it's just something I naturally enjoy. So if I'm able to work on something like that and collaborate those things, then it's kind of a win-win. Yeah.
Good. What are some of the inspirations for you as a designer or as an illustrator? Some designers, illustrators, or brands and things like when you say, oh my gosh, I love this brand or I love this designer, who are the people that come to mind?
Well, big inspiration actually is usually music and nature. And then actual inspirations would be there's an amazing artist in Japan called Halika, and she does really pretty illustrations that are very simple and yeah, they're just so beautiful, and they really inspire me to just remember what illustrating is truly about, and that's just creating something beautiful for the viewer to make them feel something. So yeah, that would probably be one of my favorites.
I love that. I don't know that artist, so I'm going to look her
She's
up.
amazing,
Yeah.
honestly. Yeah.
Okay, so send me a link after you get back to your
I will.
computer.
Yeah.
Send me a link. Okay, what about being part of our team? We're really careful about who we hire, because the truth is we spend more time with the people we work with during the week than we do even our own family members. So if I'm spending 8 hours a day working with people or 10 hours a day or whatever, I want to know that I'm going to want to work with them. What are some of the things that you bring to our team that are outside of illustration and design skills? Like, let's just say that we had a company and we dug holes or we built fences for our business, just whatever. It doesn't matter what the business is. Why do we want you on our hole digging team?
Well, I feel like I'm good to be around because I like to inspire and motivate others. I have just a really strong drive and passion just to work hard. I'm always up for any task, and I'm a big foodie, so I'll always be bringing donuts and coffee into the office because I find it's just a thing people can all enjoy together and relax with. So yeah, I think I'd be a good team member.
Good. I like that. I like food too. I'm still working on dropping my COVID 30 pounds I'm halfway down from it, but the COVID weight that the entire world gained. Sometimes I think about that and think if anybody measured the gravitational pull on the earth that happened from COVID, when you have 8 billion people that all gained 30 pounds, what happened to gravity?
Yeah, that'd be very interesting to see.
It would. I don't think anything happened to gravity. I think it pulls on everything normally, but it's a funny concept.
Yeah, it's quite funny.
What about your future? Like when you were going to design school, what was it that you wanted to accomplish? Like, what was your dream? Like, why did you study design, illustration, and to achieve what?
I have a lot of ambitions. I do want to experience, a job in the professional setting with others and meet people through that. But I do want to create comics, cartoons. I would like to have my own business someday where I can have a team of people who make cartoons with me, because the more brains, the better when it comes to creativity. So I do have big ambitions to create things. So yeah.
Good. Okay, well, those are great great thoughts. What questions do you have for me?
I do have a question. Yeah, so what kind of like person do you see as part of your team? And what kind of things do you look for in a person?
So the most important thing for me is that they fit our business culture. Like I want them, like I said, I want the other team members to like the person, to feel like they want to go to spend time at lunch together, and all that cultural kind of fit is so critical for me. Another thing that I look for is the potential they have to grow into what I need. Most of the people who I hired at my agency, they weren't ready on day one to do the kind of work we were doing, but I could see enough potential in their work that I knew that with our business structure and with mentoring and coaching along the way, that I was going to be able to help them produce the level of work that we needed, and it wasn't going to take a ton of time for me to get them there. So that was another piece. The drive to self-educate. Like this world is always changing, and you've seen it just in your last few years. Software tools are changing. AI is now the big crazy boom. How do we incorporate AI into our workflow? Adobe Firefly just launched. Like there's all kinds of stuff that we've got to learn as creatives. And so that drive and passion to self-educate is an important thing for me. And then I think the final thing is how much can they do of the work right now? Like where are they in the scale of being able to hit the ground running? Now I put that last because it is the least important of those four things for me. I want them to culturally fit. I want to see potential, and I want to see a drive to self-educate. And if they check all those boxes, I would rather hire them than the person who's a jerk and super good to hit the ground running right now today, but either miserable to work with. So that's how I prioritize the culture of my business and what I look for in the interviewing process. So knowing that, and that was a great question, knowing that, how do you fit with some of those things that I look for?
I mean, as soon as you said self-educating, like I'm all about that. I mean, always looking for ways to improve my skills. You know, I don't like just being the same all the time. I always want to improve my skills in illustration and animation. So I'm always on YouTube, LinkedIn Learning, anything just to improve my skills, and talking with other creatives who are above me, you know, just to see how they do, or what's their process, you know, as well. So anything I can just soak it all up like a sponge and learn from it. So definitely I hit that one, I think.
Good. So good. Okay. What other questions do you have for me?
Yeah, well, you mentioned growth, and that is also important to me because I want to be part of a company that doesn't want to just stay stuck, but they're also looking for ways to grow and develop. So how do you see your company growing in the next, say, 5 years?
We've grown a ton. We had a few years in a row that we doubled our team size. We went from my first employee to 5, and then I went from 5 employees to 10, and then 10 to like 13. These were kind of the jumps in growth. And as the agency grew, I needed to put in layers of management. So we started promoting people as a creative director or an art director or as the development lead. So we do a lot of website projects. So there were promotion opportunities there. And as I see the business continue to scale, it's going to need more art directors and more creative directors to help manage all the workflow that we have. Yeah. So there's a lot of opportunity to grow in your own career inside the walls of the agency.
Yeah, that was great to hear. So I'm happy.
Good. What else? What other questions do you have?
I don't know. What would be good for me to know? What should I know about this company?
Oh, that's a good question. The people, like, I try and be a generous boss, a generous business owner. Some of the things I'm proud of that we did when the iPhone came out, iPhone, it was when the 3G iPhone, it was like generation 2 of the iPhone came out. I bought iPhones for my whole team and surprised them.
Oh, cool.
And it was like, yeah, right at that thing. And then when iPads came out, I bought iPads for my whole team.
Wow.
It was things like that. I like to do things like that. So as an employer, I try and be generous to my employees. I always had Christmas bonuses and things because I always wanted to have that at companies I had worked at in the past. So I always tried to build the kind of business that I would have wanted to work at myself. Now, it's not always perfect. When you grow and double your billings and double your team size a few years in a row, there's growing pains that happen where we can't hire fast enough and people have to work a little bit longer hours and things. I always hated that we hit those marks. But if I would have hired against every time that the workload got heavy, then I would have been in a hiring and laying off phase all the time because of the fluctuation. So I let those busy times last for 1 to 3 months, and then I start hiring. So there may be times in our agency where your 8-hour day becomes a 10-hour day a couple times a week so that we can get all the work done. Meanwhile, I'm scrambling trying to hire people to backfill the load, which is what we're doing right now, looking for somebody to fill the role that you're interviewing for. So do you have a problem with that kind of workload fluctuation?
No, I mean, I completely understand that sometimes deadlines come up a lot sooner than you expect, and it just does take those couple of few hours extra, maybe a day or a night. So I'm all for it as long as the project gets done on time.
Good.
So Good. What
about salary range? What kind of salary are you looking for this position?
Anything, I suppose, from 28K to 30, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. That's in range with what we're comfortable with for the budget. And so there's no problem there and no issue. Okay. Well, thank you for coming in. So we have a couple more interviews that we're going to do, and then we're going to talk over the candidates and see what we do from there. So you can expect to hear from me in a couple of days with what next steps might be.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time and good luck with the process.
Thank you. All right, so time out. Now we're done with the mock interview. You nailed it. Honestly.
Oh, thank you.
Becky, if you can get the interview, people are going to want to work with you.
That's good to hear.
There's zero problem. I would have made you an offer at my agency if you would have presented with the resume and the website and stuff that we walked through here and then interviewed exactly like you did. You would have gotten a job offer from my agency. So
awesome.
That is how it works right there. And you did perfect. Honestly, you were authentic, you were sincere, you showed humility, you showed work ethic, you showed ambition. Like you touched all the things that I want to see in somebody that would join the team. And to be honest, you would have been a great fit with my agency. Everybody would have liked you as well. So you would have been a great fit. Too bad I'm not running my agency anymore. I know. Yeah. Just have to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for doing this. Do you have any, so now we're out of the interview mode. Do you have other questions for me about the job hunting process or the industry or anything that's kind of nagging you that you want to pick my brain about?
I suppose I do have a few questions. I think I have at least 9 or 10 here. If we can't get through all of them,
okay. Well, let's fire drill those.
Okay.
Okay. Let's go.
So as young creatives are rising like every day, it feels like, do you feel it's more of a challenge to stand out now? And if so, what kind of strategies then would you distinguish yourself with all the competition?
Really good question. The way to stand out, the big difference between you and all of the other people is you. And the competitive advantage that you have is exactly what you did to be on a phone call with me right now. It was send me a nice email, express a challenge that you're facing, be sincere and authentic, And I became interested. And now we're friends, and we'll be friends for years and years to come as a result of this. But it's because you reached out and you were human. You know how many people follow my social media and I don't even know that they're there, or they've taken my courses and I don't even know that they exist. They've never reached out. Now, what happens when I hear about an illustration, animation, character design job that somebody asks me, hey, Mike, you know any character designers? And I can say, yeah, I have my friend Becky. She's in Scotland. Her accent's super wicked. That's what I can say, because we have now a human to human connection. That's the difference between you and all of the other thousands and thousands of people that are out there looking for jobs right now. So figure out a way to get your face in front of them and humanize yourself.
Okay, thank you. That's great.
Yeah. But you already did it. You're already doing it. You're doing it right now. So
I just need to do it more, I suppose.
Yeah, you do need to do it more.
Yeah. So in your opinion, what would be the single most important aspect to keep in mind, or an action to take as a designer?
I mentioned it earlier. It's the self-education component. Everything is changing so fast. It's so fast. New software, new strategies, new approaches, new social medias that you have to figure out. It's all so fast. So just embrace the fact that you're always going to be digging in and learning.
Okay. Thank you. I think this is a good one, because we did talk about remote working, and it is great in so many ways. But with that, I feel like you can easily become isolated and disconnected from other creatives in the process. So how would you, I suppose, stay connected to other creatives and the design world? So
join some communities that allow for face-to-face interactions. I'll do webinars sometimes. That sometimes I'll instigate the webinar, and sometimes I'll be invited to speak on a webinar, like a dribble webinar or something. Okay. And in there, tons and tons of people join the webinar, and they start DMing each other in the chat, and they start building those relationships and those connections. I also have my community that I launched a few months ago, and the people in there, we have 150 people in the community, and I do group coaching events. So yesterday I was on for 2 hours with them, and everybody who wants to be is on screen with their camera turned on, and it's a big Zoom call, and we talk, and people get to know each other's personalities and connect, and then they connect in the discussion board on the side and stuff. You get that kind of that connection between people. You've got to do that, because we're in a virtual world now. So do it virtually. But when you go to webinars, if there's an opportunity to turn your camera on, turn it on. Your background looks nice. You got your toys, you got your nerdy stuff and your lights. It looks good. So so feel free to turn on your camera. Don't hide. And this is a differentiator between you and all the other people out there too, is that so many people are afraid to turn the camera on. And that is to their disadvantage in finding opportunities and building relationships with people.
Yeah, thank you. I'm worried now that you've answered some of these questions.
It's okay. We don't have to ask. If I've already answered some, we don't have to ask them.
Okay. Let me see here. Oh, yeah, another good one. So I don't know if I've mentioned that there's some particular companies I do really want to work for example, like Cartoon Network, love their work. Yeah. And so would it be beneficial for me to tailor my work, align more closely with their style, to kind of be more likely to get hired by them? Yeah.
Case studies of concept projects is the key. Concept projects. So take your favorite cartoon on Cartoon Network and make a concept project for that. Like a storyboard for the cartoon. Okay, I'm gonna storyboard my own idea for, what's your favorite Cartoon Network show?
Adventure Time.
Adventure Time. Okay, so I'm gonna take my favorite show and I'm gonna show that I can draw in the style of Adventure Time. I can design in the style of Adventure Time. I'm gonna make a faked up little storyboard of an Adventure Time cartoon. What are my plot points and things? And then I'm going to turn it into a case study and then do some final illustrations that are in the style of it so that I can prove that I'm capable of doing work for Adventure Time. And then you put that on your website and you call it a concept project. And then you put in there and you say, hey, my favorite cartoon on Cartoon Network, my favorite channel is Adventure Time. And so I did this as a little passion project just to play with the brand that I love so much. And then you show the work, and now all of a sudden you have a case study that is so perfectly tailored to Cartoon Network and to the job that you really dream of having that you stand a chance. If you don't have that in your portfolio, you don't stand any chance of getting noticed by them because they have other people that have worked at Nickelodeon. All the Nick people are applying for Cartoon Network, and the Cartoon Network people are applying at Nick. I was in there. I worked at Fox Kids back in the day. And it was all of that. People are just in the Hollywood circles too, especially they just go from one of the businesses to the next, and people work at Disney and then they're at Sony and then they're back at Fox and Disney and Sony, and they bounce around like that. So but you can go on those rides with those people if you have concept projects. So make some concept projects.
On the note of you working at Fox, like I think that's so cool. Like, was that one of your like dreams? Like, you always wanted to work with Fox? Like, was that
not Fox? Something? I always had the every designer dream of like, oh, maybe someday I'm going to do something for Hollywood, like the coolest brands. I never had the courage to vocalize that as a dream. But when I grew up like you did, drawing, I collected comics and I drew the comics and I watched the cartoons and I loved all that. And I took all the art classes. That was my life growing up. And every person like that in the back of their head has the dream of someday I'll work at Disney or wherever other company that they covet, Warner Brothers and stuff. When I got my job at Fox, it came out of doing this project called O-Kid that was in Phoenix. And O-Kid was one of, I think it may have been the first, but it was one of the first online kid destinations with toys, games, or cartoons and games and educational content for kids. And I was the creative director over that, and actually came up with the name and the whole thing for this company that I was working at. And that's what gave me the catalyst into Fox. And my catalyst into Fox was for Fox Kids, but then we got Fox Family added to our group as well. And then that got sold to Disney and they started downsizing, and I made all these friends at Fox that started landing at Warner Brothers and Sony and Disney and other clients. And then they started becoming my clients. So that was kind of my foot in the door. It never would have happened had I not had the O-Kid project that was innovative at the time. It was like the year 2000, 1999, 2000. And it was nothing like it out there. So it was really innovative, and it got me the foot in the door. And then from then on, it was just relationship building. Like I could go to Hollywood right now and probably get in on almost every studio because I have friends and past clients there that I could go and meet for lunch. I haven't done that for a lot of years, but that was my whole business thing. So it was a pinch me moment. Like it was a dream come true for sure.
I'm sure
it was a dream. And I'm super grateful for that experience. It was, But
do you ever miss like working in those kind of companies? Or?
I didn't miss it. My clients were all those kinds of companies. So once every few months I was flying to go and see them, and I would still walk around all the back lots and meet my friends who were my clients, meet them for lunch and whatever. So I still have the access, which was, it was always super fun. I mean, it's always super fun.
It sounds really nice.
Yeah, it's super fun. It is super fun. It's a crazy industry, Hollywood. There's not a lot of loyalty. Disney's laying off tons and tons of people. Disney's notorious for layoffs, and all the other businesses too. There's fluctuation in team. There's project by project basis, like all the films and stuff. You're on contract for this film, and then when the film is over, you're looking and chasing your new contract. And so there's that world of it that's challenging. But at the same time, you're working for these brands that you turn on TV and there's your stuff. It's kind of fun. It's cool. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
It must feel like a really cool moment.
Yeah, it was. I'm really grateful. Like I know that everybody doesn't get that opportunity that I had. And so look back on it, super grateful.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I have one more, I suppose. I don't know, you've probably maybe answered this in ways. It was just like, what would be some tips just to showcase work? Apart from like social media, which again is such a spiral, but
Yeah. Case studies on your site should be kind of the tent pole for your work.
Okay.
And then putting little snippets of it on Dribbble is good. Putting the case study itself on Behance is good. Putting it on Instagram is also good. It's hard to do all of them. And so my recommendation on kind of showcasing your work is pick a platform and do and go all in on that platform. So if it's Dribbble, then go all in on Dribbble and just dribble the heck out of it. If it's Behance, then put all your case studies on Behance and say, this is where I'm going to try and build up awareness of my work. It's going to be my best social media destination.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But pick one and go for it. Don't try and do them all. For most people, that's challenging.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's all the questions I have.
Good. Well, this was super fun. Thank you for jumping on. This is going to be great information for a lot of people. So I'm excited to edit some of this stuff together and see how it all turns out. And now that we're friends, reach out anytime. And now I'm like on the hook when you get your next job or when you have updates on interviews and stuff.
Yeah. Then
message me and say, Mike, I have an interview tomorrow.
You're the first to know.
Yes, I want to know. I want to know. So keep me in the loop. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Becky. We'll see you soon and see you in my inbox for sure.
Thank you so much. I just want to take a moment to thank you again for all of this. I mean, again, I'm beyond grateful for everything you've done, the time you've taken to create those amazing website designs and the resume. It's just amazing. It's just so amazing. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'm going to send all of those files over to you also.
Oh, great.
So
thank you.
Yeah, watch for them coming your way super soon. And send me your video files on.
Oh, I will for sure.
Okay.
Great stuff.
Okay, thanks, Becky. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Mike. Chat to you soon. Bye.